Good morning, folks, and it looks like another piece of talent is leaving Bioware after 12 years, a Mr. Fernando Melo. And wow, it just every month there's something going on at Bioware, which is not probably the best news to hear. Now, someone leaving is pretty common. People leave and go other places all the time. It's just been very prevalent at Bioware these past 2 years at least. So Fernando Melo has been there for 12 years as a lead producer for Dragon Age. And he wrote a little letter or an email, because that's what he does as a producer. He talks to a lot of people. It's a very strange email. Everything seems positive, as it should be. So there's nothing negative or that sticks out as bad. But his reasons for leaving are odd. Honestly, to say my time here with all individuals I had the privilege to work with over the years will hold a special place for me would be an understatement. It is unlikely that anything else will ever be able to match that. So he's saying, Bioware was amazing. I just had a great experience. It was just so incredible. Nothing's ever going to match that. So then you have to ask, well, why are you leaving? But they say all good things must come to an end. For me personally, I've been wanting to take some time to disconnect and figure out what I'd like to focus on as a next chapter. And this seemed as good, least disruptive timing as it would likely get. Well, that's interesting. So he's saying he just wants to disconnect and get away from it and figure it out. So that's like a personal thing. So far, as we are being told. But why would you want to disconnect right now when Bioware has not been doing so well in releasing those two titles? Now, Dragon Age Inquisition was a commercial success. That doesn't mean it was a good game. If we know anything from the Dragon Age people who have left, Mike Laidlaw, David Gator, they saw the writing on the wall. They knew what was going on. So interesting stuff. Like here's a blog post from Bioware in October 29th, 2010. And they interviewed Mr. Fernando Melo. Here he is 9 years ago. And, pretty busy looking guy, clean desk. Few awards, kind of cute awards. I like this. Drinking Case of Profit. This is a used champagne bottle. We have some awards. Best Writing Canadian Video Game Awards. I didn't even know those were a thing. I'm Canadian. Finalist in Dragon Age Origins. Not sure exactly what that is. So yeah, he's proud of his stuff. Busy guy. And it's just this interesting read. This is pretty much his profile. It asked him all these random things. I like the fact that they listed favorite books. He lists Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide. Pretty much standard response. Then he goes into William Gibson. And if you know anything about the Dragon Age people, Mike Laidlaw was a huge, gigantic William Gibson fan. So not only has he loved Neuromancer, but Mona Lisa Overdrive as well. And, Spook Country. He just read them all. So I guess he was hanging out with Laidlaw a lot. That tells you a lot. What kind of caliber, what kind of person he was by knowing what books he read. That's important, I think, especially when you're doing a creative endeavor as being a senior producer. So you could actually read what a senior producer does, or what he did specifically. And he was the DLC guy. He was the Dragon Age DLC online guy. So all the stuff for downloadable content in Dragon Age, specifically multiplayer, Awakening, Warden's Keep, the Shale DLC, the Morrigan DLC, Return to Ostagar, all this exclusive stuff. Like there's Liliana's Song, all the crazy promotional stuff, all the items. Dragon Age 2, all that stuff found, and I can't remember the name of the specific DLC where it's kind of like a shop. All that stuff. This is just the list for Origins, so there's all this random stuff here. Anyway, another interesting thing I thought was cool was this is 2010. This is during Dragon Age 2 development, and if you read this blurb, this was the magic crunch time of Dragon Age 2, and yeah, most workers do in fact drink a lot of coffee. So he mentions that a lot in the blurb, but it just sounds so frantic if you read this. I'll leave a link to his profile. So it's an interesting read. Like there's something going on at Bioware, and I think people are getting the hint. And I think he's doing a smart thing by not revealing what that is, because he's, again, being very positive. He wants to leave on good terms. He's signing his name up at the bar that he goes to, and this is not a sign that he was having a bad time. He has to go drown his sorrows every day at Dragon Age is nothing uncommon of people going to bars after work or after 12 years at one place to frequent a place and they know you by name, that you're enough to sign your name there. That's fairly common. So I'm not going to read into this at all. And it's just a beautiful thing. Now, one other cool thing was he mentioned the code name of Dragon Age 4. With a great game leadership team in place, a fantastic creative vision, and some of the best devs in the world, Morrison is well underway to becoming the definitive Dragon Age experience, and I'm incredibly proud and honored to have played a part in that. I'll be eagerly awaiting the opportunity to experience the next DA as a fan this time around. So, however, you understand that paragraph, essentially, this is going to be the most definitive Dragon Age. Now, again, that could have two sides to it. That could be, this is the best ever, or this is the last one, the definitive one, the one that is all we get. So, yeah, it's never good news for a project, but hopefully Mr. Fernando here can find greener pastures, figure out what he wants to do, because it certainly is not staying at Bioware, unfortunately. Or fortunately for him. Sadly for Bioware, of course. Lost some great talent, some very passionate workers so far. And, geez, I wish I could tell you where Dragon Age has been going or is going. The last game was just not helping in terms of story. And with the loss of talent, I can't imagine it being a consistent thing. If you know what a producer does, and again, you could read the blurb here, they are the champions of the creative vision as a whole, whereas the writer is the specific detail, literary creative champion of their own work, as all the writers are. So he was sort of, or a producer would sort of organize others to do the vision, to enact the vision of whatever that is. So if you have multiple code names for a work, remember it was called Joplin before, I believe. I could be wrong. Let me just do a search on that. Dragon Age, Joplin. Yeah, cancel Dragon Age. So it's gone through an iteration and it failed. Okay? So things aren't sounding good. We could be wrong. I could be like, oh, they're losing a guy. They might get some new talent, and he could just turn things around. Mark Dara could just fix things up. Who knows? He did it with Anthem. Anthem would have been published if it wasn't for Mark Dara. So this could be great news for Dragon Age in general. It could be great news for Bioware, but all signs point to probably not. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening. Have yourself a great morning.